We're on day 111, April 21st, 2021. Reading for today is 2 Kings 1 through 3. Oh, hold on, I gotta get my glasses. There we go. Now this one's a weird one. Whoever's pro-Bible would say this one's totally whacked. Okay, so we got chapter 1. Apparently any male who says he's from God can just say he's from God and everybody will believe it. Back then anyways, not anymore. Because it says here, Ahaziah fell through his roof. Terrace, whatever a terrace is. Oh, you know what? I guess that's kind of like a patio. Anyways, and he says, okay, now he says to his messengers or whoever to go to talk to this prophet to see if he'd heal. Okay, first thing, what does it matter? Second thing, what do you mean would I heal? You broke bones. I don't know. Anyways, unless you like punctured a rib or something, I don't know. This just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would it matter? Anyways, what would he do different if he was not to be living? Anyway, so Elijah comes as the messenger's going out. Elijah approaches the messenger and says, because the king is going to a god other than the real God to find out prophecy, he's going to die. And he says he's from, I'm from the Lord telling you this. So they just believe him. And so they go back to the king, and the king says, why are you back so soon? And he says, well, this one dude says he was from God. And he says, you're going to die. And then, did it say Ahaziah? I don't remember if it said Ahaziah believed him or not, or if it doesn't, leaves that obscure. But okay, so anyways, during here, I forgot this part. When the messengers come back to tell him about what Elijah said, Ahaziah said, what was the man like, and who said these things to you? And they said, he was wearing a hairy garment with a leather girdle about his loins. And the king says, it's Elijah! And it's like, how obscure a description do you need to be able to come up with it? That is just so obscure. That's just like, that would be like the king saying, what did the dude look? He was white with brown hair. Oh, it must be Nefertiti. It's like, it's so obscure. Anyways, so, all these little things add up to this just being a bogus story. But, and all the stories of the Bible are like this. So, let's see. For some reason, Elijah kills a bunch of people. Okay, so the king sends people up to talk to Elijah. I don't know why. It doesn't say why. But when the people go up and say, the messengers or whatever they're called, footmen or whatever, go up to talk to Elijah, say, hey, come down here. The king wants to talk to you. Elijah says, if I'm a man of God, then God's going to kill you with fire. And he kills them all with fire. Now, this doesn't make any sense what happens is the king sends 50 more people. Like, how does he know them 50 people died? They're all dead. There's no witnesses. All the witnesses died. So how does he know to send 50 more people up? And even, okay, and even if they died, doesn't the king still sends more people up to talk to him? That makes no sense. It's like, don't you think that these next 50 people will be dead, be killed? You got to come up with a better strategy. So again, all this stuff, none of this is making sense to be a true story. So anyways, sure enough, the king sends 50 more people up. They're killed by fire. Elijah murders them by fire. And so then the king sends another 50 up because he doesn't learn. And remember, 3 is the magic number when it comes to sequence. Because, like, if this went on for 7 times, we'd get bored of the story. At the 3rd time, he got my attention just enough to make this story exciting. Now it's time to do the follow through. So the 3rd time he sends people up. The people, when they see Elijah, they bow down and basically worship him, which I don't know why. How is that any better than worshiping another god? You're worshiping a human who's a representative of the true God or whatever. I don't understand. But anyways, they bow down and worship him, and they say, don't kill me, don't kill me. The king wants to see you. And he said, okay, since you're worshiping me, I'll go down. Okay. So then he goes down, and I guess he does. I don't remember exactly this part. It's not important. He talks to the king, and the king dies according to what Elijah said. Now, if this story was true, how would God expect people to worship God and not Elijah? Because Elijah's the one doing all the prophesying and stuff. So, whatever. This makes no sense. Chapter 2. Now, God may be the Bible may say God's against homosexuality, but there's a lot of homosexuality going on in the Bible. Elijah and Elisha obviously who don't really exist, but, their names are too close alike, and it just doesn't make any sense. They have an obvious romantic relationship. It says, when the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven, Elijah said to Elisha, stay here. And Elisha said, I will not leave you. Again, 3 is the magic number. Elijah says this 3 times. Elisha responds the same 3 times. Then, interestingly enough, Elijah took off his mantle, rolled it up, struck the water, which divided, and they crossed over the dry ground. Now, this was Jordan. Does this not remind you? This splitting of the water, this dividing of the water. I believe this is the 3rd time. 3 is the charm. 3rd time this has happened about the splitting of the water in the Bible, according to how the Bible's compiled. This would be, if I'm not mistaken, the 3rd time. He had the 1st time when the Jews, or maybe that was the 2nd time. I remember one time the Jews crossed Jordan and Moses split the water. His staff hit the water, and or he raised it. I think he hit the water and it raised and it divided. And then there was another time, I can't remember what that time was. And here's another time. So I mean, this is a common theme among these stories about this dividing of water so people can go through on dry ground. I think historically these stories have just gotten meshed up so much that, one bled into another. Anyway, so this is where Elijah goes up in a chariot. And there's something here said about, in the footnotes, something about Elijah being as, let's see, I don't see it now. It might have been in a different place, but it talks about how Elijah was financially important. I couldn't really get what it was that they were trying to say. But anyways, so Elijah was taken up in it says, a flaming chariot and flaming horses came between him, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. Does that mean he got into the chariot? I don't know. I was always told he got into the chariot, but it's not saying, at least not in the New American Bible, it's not saying that he got into the chariot. And I don't know what city this was. It doesn't say for sure, but it comes after this story, and it says Elijah returned to Jericho, so I'm assuming it's Jericho. But it says, once the inhabitants of the city complained to Elijah that the water was bad. And it says Elijah threw some salt into the water, blessed it or whatever, and the water's fine now. Now here's some really wackadoo stuff, infanticide stuff. Even Christians would have a hard time defending it. This might be one of the things where the literalists say, okay, this part you're not supposed to take literally, even though it doesn't specifically say it. It in no way even implies that this is a parable. Okay. From there, Elijah went up to Bethel. When he was on the way, he saw some small boys come out of the city, and they started teasing him, calling him bald-head or whatever. The prophet turned and saw them, and he cursed them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 she-bears came out of the woods and tore the 42 children to pieces. He murdered some children because they were teasing him. He's a grown man. Obviously grown. He's bald. He's an old dude. Right? And he murders children. He's a child murderer. He's a baby killer. Christians, he's a baby killer. Your beloved Elijah, or Elisha, is a baby killer. So let's see what goes on in chapter 3. I don't think anything really happens in 3 except more of this, we're making up stories to tell how great God is. Well, one of the things, chapter 3, verse 20, this is the only thing I'd really like to point out. The story behind it doesn't matter. It's just another stupid story. But it says, in the morning, at the time of sacrifice, water came from the direction of Edom and filled the land. This was, according to some war, some fighting going on, genocide going on between communities. And the Lord brought in a bunch of water to flood the land. So this reminds me again, flood, a lot of water stuff, splitting of water flooding, water turning, water was a lifeline back then. I mean, they needed water to live, to bathe, to clean themselves, to wash pots and pans, to keep themselves from getting food poisoning. Menstruation, after women menstruated, they were supposed to wash themselves. So a lot of water, the lifeline for the people, is a common theme among, like water being, if you had good water, if you had sufficient water, it showed you had good, quote unquote good, God-worshipping, God-fearing community. And if you had bad water, it was because you were a bad community, whether it was something that God put on there, the God or the false gods. Still, I'm confused about what constitutes a false god, because a lot of these quote-unquote false gods actually did stuff. They actually proved themselves. So what makes them false, I don't know. But anyways, whether it be something brought on by themselves, brought on by God, brought on naturally, if they had bad water, it was a sign that the community was corrupt. According to these stories, right? Of course, we know communities have, like Flint. Flint is not a, the corruption happens at the higher levels. The people of themselves have nothing to do with their goodness or badness, have nothing to do with the poisoned water they're forced to drink and utilize. But in the story, in these stories, people are, you can tell a community is good or bad by how well their water is, how good their water is. So anyways, there's a lot, like I said, a lot of, the flooding of the water, the dividing of the water, the putrefaction of the water, the cleansing of the water, like this cleansing. What I mean cleansing is like how Elijah threw the salt in the water and made the water pure. Purifying of water, the purifying of water. So much water going on, determining whether communities are good or bad, whether God likes them or doesn't like them, whether God's punishing them or not. Just big, I don't know why people don't read the book. People have not read the book. That's why they still believe in all this crap. They have not read the book, and therefore they have not questioned what is being in the book. As to, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Oh, wait a minute, this is unethical. Elijah, or Elisha, just murdered a bunch of children for teasing him. What? So, they may call other people who have abortion baby killers, but Elijah is a baby killer. Elisha is a baby killer. Anyway, so here's, I tumble glass. I don't know if I told you this before. These are nice glass pieces. I have this lot. There's more in this lot than what's shown here. This is mint green glass. That's a Bacardi bottle. I broke that up. I put all the tops together. That's some liquor bottle. I don't know. That's probably some, what I call coffee creamer. This is definitely some coffee creamer. Coffee liqueur. Here's a really nice one. I like this one. I was thinking of selling this one alone. If you want me to, to sell these separately, just let me know. Contact me. Comment in this. Put a comment in the, comments below, or go to the eBay. Go to the eBay site. Contact me through that. I'll put a link to my sales site in the description, if I remember, and you can just contact me there. But that one's a nice one. I don't remember what bottle that was, but that's a nice one. And this is all frosted through my tumbling process. What I do, how I get it frosted, is I do a dry run. Most people don't do dry runs. The water we have here is really bad. It's well water. I don't know if our water softener just isn't working up to par. We just have really bad groundwater to begin with. But it rusts out the hardware on my tumblers. And I've gone through a lot of tumblers, and that water's rusted out my tumblers. And so I just do dry runs, and that's what makes this frosted. What I also do, what I first do is I use modern glass. It's mostly modern glass because that's what I have access to. I'm not going to go buy glass to try and resell it for just a couple bucks profit. It's not worth my time because it takes a lot of time to make this. And a lot of dedication, a lot of work. So what I do is I take the glass, that modern glass stuff that I've used, and I break it, and I run it through a case vibrator. It's a Hornby case vibrator. And I run it through there for a week on a dry run with the grit. And, oh, that one looks like that didn't get that little piece very good. Then what I do is I don't wash it off or anything because that's just more work for me for nothing. For no reason. And see, that's a handle. Then I run it through the MJR tumbler, one of them very expensive big red tumblers. And I run it on there for about 3 or 4 days. You know, I'll look at it, see how well it's doing. And then what I do is I take it out and put it through a colander. Well, I guess you'd call them more sifters than colanders, because colanders I think of as like the pasta colanders with the big holes, or the, you know, what you use to, you know, to get the water out of boiled vegetables. Anyways, sifter colanders, and I put it out in the rain for however long it's raining, and then after that, I spray it down with water from the hose. Got to do all this outside because you don't want that grit to go down your drain and clog your drains or mess up your septic. We got a septic system, so we don't want that messed up either. And then I polish them up with Murphy's oil. Now you can see a lot of this grit is still in there. And as the rain comes on, I think these will be very good. It really looks nice when it rains, especially when it's wet and the sun's out. You know, you got the sun beating on it. It looks really nice. That grit will, you know, little by little, it'll eventually come off over years. You probably won't have as much frosty looking, you know, 10 years from now than you will now. Because some of that, more of that grit will come off. But yeah, I think these are really nice pieces, really interesting. Little doohickeys, I sell the tops, but I also sell, you know, the other pieces, you know, the sides and all of that. Them are broken up into much smaller pieces. But this one's nice. This is the bottom with that. Got that nice rounded. Some are more rounded than others. Just depends on how it goes in the tumbler. You know, but they all have soft edges. You don't have to worry about. There was that one, I don't remember. Oh, I think it's this one. Yeah, this one has. But it's still not sharp edged. I'm going to sand that down a little bit by hand. Yeah, I got all these cute little pieces. I don't know what people would use them for, but I don't know. People use everything for everything. I mean, geez, oh Pete. Anyway, so I'll put a link on there if I remember. Read the description.